So I said, I don't want to deal with comedies.
Yeah.
I don't want to deal with family. I don't want to deal with romance, drama. Like, I really want to deal with the genres we talk about only.
Okay.
So that's superhero, sci-fi, fantasy, that captures Star Wars and all that. And then action. We do talk about action.
Okay.
And I said, okay, let's limit it to movies that were released between the years 2001 and 2025. So 2001 is a key cutoff because you're going to immediately lose, so like movies like The Matrix and Gladiator and Phantom Menace are going to fall outside of that range, right? You can't even consider those.
Yeah.
So you can only consider a release date between 01 and 2025. So it's 25 for 25.
Mm-hmm.
And similar to the X-Men casting, when you start to get into this process, I think you realize how difficult this becomes. And it becomes like, what is this list to you?
Yeah.
So I wound up settling in this odd hybrid place of, I didn't view it as the 25 best pound for pound films. That wasn't the goal. I called it the 25 essential films. And the way I defined essential was, what do I believe 25 years from now you're still going to be talking about? And still
in another episode that perhaps one day we'll have to put behind the paywall if you want to hear what we have to say. But there's some situations Marvel has to pay attention to in order to keep people. They have to make the right decisions here in terms of who they decide to cast for these roles for the X-Men. Because, Brian and I were just talking about the success we're having with our latest episode about the X-Men cast and who they should be.
And it's hard. I think the exercise, when we both did it separately, we deliberately did it separately other than the names we had already bandied about on the show, which we, Storm and Wolverine had already been sort of names we had talked about. But I just want to pull the Alan Rich and Reacher creed.
Details matter.
And that's the thing is there are people getting paid a lot more money than we'll ever get paid to do this, who have a lot more experience than we'll ever have doing this. Those little things, those little choices, everyone's going to notice for roles like this, especially now. So, there's plenty of ways there's plenty of mistakes you can make. Don't make the mistakes that are self-inflicted. Don't throw away the layups and the dunks.
Yeah. And just because somebody say, I want to play this, doesn't mean they get to play it, yo.
Just because their resume looks a certain way, that's not the reason to take the call.
Don't make the mistake, yo. Don't make that mistake. Here's the thing. Yeah, they're going to have to read. But again, the right people need to be in the room to decide the ultimate decision in that who's going to be playing these roles. It can't be... Certainly, there has to be a look, but when I hear that person, I need to hear Storm. I need to hear Cyclops.
Beast.
I need to hear Beast. I need to hear those people too. Yeah. And we just went off some names that looked the part and that have played specific roles, showing their range, showing the possibilities. I think these are these candidates. I don't know about that Henry Cavill one though. But
no, that's fine. I mean, that's fine. Yeah. But I think the exercise. Yeah, I mean, the exercise of that though, and I encourage and I appreciate the people who are coming out and commenting and have their own wishes and don't like what we do. That's great. But the exercise that I would encourage you to do is sit down and do it yourself mentally from top to bottom. Don't pick one character. Try to do the lineup. And I think what you'll find is it gets really complicated really quickly because you're like, okay, I like this performer individually, but this performer with that performer, it's not working for me. Like I had this with Scott and Jean where it's like, I felt like I had one side of that multiple times. Then I would put the other side and be like, that doesn't look or feel right. You know what I mean? And like when you start to do that, you start to realize in the case of the X-Men, how critical these relationships are. It's like, okay, I got my Xavier, and I need a Magneto, and those two have to go together well. And it's like, that's what I mean. Like, this is really, really difficult puzzle making. And it's fun, right? So the point was like, are we right or any better than anyone else? Like, no, that's not the point. The point is like, we had fun doing it, but the exercise itself was informative to underscore how tricky this is and how important it's going to be for Marvel to quote, get it right. That's hard, but at least get these close enough to the mark to where people are excited and feel like they're invested in these characters from the beginning.
My search was very basic. I wasn't going off uh people whom I've seen. Obviously, there was just standouts. Austin Butler, Mad Mickelson. There were standouts. But I went into the internet to Google specific characteristics
Yeah,
in the age range, the sort of
exactly.
look that I want to and then I saw the names and that's how I chose. Patrick Schwarzenegger was one of the guys that just popped up and I was like, yo, that's Scott right there, yo.
Yeah.
Without me hearing him. Well, certainly we had to see him read and stuff, but we have something that he did that's very popular, White Lotus, that we can sort of look at it and be like, can he play it? But these guys are actors. This is what you know what I'm saying? So we give them I think that opportunity to sort of uh, see what they're capable of. And it is very difficult because it's not just one guy, but one guy could be to make the difference.
And I think the exercise to me when I started to do it was, and I didn't talk about it, but I actually did try to go down the path a little bit of like, okay, Marvel wants to do this as a teen show. And I started to try to look at some of actors in that range just to like do the exercise. It reinforced to me that I think that's going to be a mistake.
They want their Stranger Things. This is
I
not
know that,
this is not what you do it with. I'm sorry.
it just didn't feel right to me. Like the even when I started finding, I was like, okay, I could sort of see that individual is sort of between age 17 and 24, and they could probably be this particular part. And you could project 10, 12 years from now, they might grow into a prime of life version of Cyclops. I'm like, it just didn't feel right, man. And that's what makes me most nervous is if they really are committed to that, we're going to see this lineup. And you're right, it's going to feel like a Stranger Things season more than an X-Men season or an X-Men film. And I don't know. I think I think they're going to lose some people with this. That's my instinct. They're going to lose some audience if they go this route. But it seems like they're going to.
Yeah.
We'll find out if Sadie Sink is, speaking of Stranger Things, we'll find out if Sadie Sink is in fact part of that vanguard or not. But I don't know.
And one thing before we get into the reason for this episode, because this episode is going to be very interesting, and I'll have Brian sort of lead us to the
I'm going to invite all the hate. So
genesis of this idea, and I'm going to be reacting to his selections for this episode. But Sadie Sink represents certainly an opportunity to do something good, depending obviously on the character. Here's the other option, because I've always said Mary Jane is just too easy. It's just too easy. It's just too easy. Meaning that she'd be perfect for the role.
Yeah.
Because we're already hearing conversations of Zendaya having her boyfriend. She has somebody.
Makes sense.
Yeah. To see Tom Holland try to compete with that in a way, I don't know, because he has to. Again, she doesn't know him. So that's interesting to me anyway. But then introducing Mary Jane, giving him that other piece of hope, because it's you got to move on, right? You got to move. She was just one of those that got away. That's it. That's it. You got to move on. And what better way to move on with a Mary Jane that's perfect for the role?
Not disagreeing. But if she's Jean, you'll know, right? Because if she's Jean, you know how old Scott's going to be. You know what I'm saying? Like, it'll tell you, like, where this is going.
Here's my other. If you want, for me, this can't be it, but it seems like we're heading that route with her being Jean, and I don't know if that is the right choice. But if you still wanted to introduce a mutant, you do Firestar. Who knows? You do the Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, a short rendition of it, because they do meet the X-Men in some of those episodes. So she's sort of a vehicle for that possibility of, because she's a mutant, she's Firestar. And that is a way to sort of introduce us into that world and keep us going in that direction. So this show is going to be very interesting. Brian has a list of titles here called the 25 essential action sci-fi fantasy superhero films of the last 25 years that he need to take with him on his retirement, wherever he's done, where he's not going to be really going to the movies and stuff like that. This is what he's done with. He's going to be watching this. What I'm going to be reacting to his list. I didn't come up with any list because I want to hear what he has to say, because I think we probably, I don't find myself disagreeing. Perhaps there's going to be one or two that I'd have to plug in there, but this is Brian's 25 essential lists. Brian, what do you have?
Yeah, let me give you the genesis. And then this list is going to change with Pablo's input, to be clear. So everyone's doing these types of lists, right? Tarantino did one. The Ringer movies has been doing one. There's all these types of things. So I try to find like, what's a type of list I haven't seen done that is topical to us. And so that's why I limited the genres. So I said, I don't want to deal with comedies. Yeah. I don't want to deal with family. I don't want to deal with romance, drama. Like, I really want to deal with the genres we talk about only. So that's superhero, sci-fi, fantasy that captures Star Wars and all that. And then action. We do talk about action.
Okay.
And I said, okay, let's limit it to movies that were released between the years 2001 and 2025. So 2001 is a key cutoff because you're going to immediately lose, so like movies like The Matrix and Gladiator and Phantom Menace, they're going to fall outside of that range, right? You can't even consider those. Yeah. So you can only consider a release date between 01 and 2025. So it's 25 for 25. Mm-hmm. And similar to the X-Men casting, when you start to get into this process, I think you realize how difficult this becomes. And it becomes like, what is this list to you? Yeah. So I wound up settling in this odd hybrid place of, I didn't view it as the 25 best pound for pound films. That wasn't the goal. I called it the 25 essential films. And the way I defined essential was, what do I believe 25 years from now you're still going to be talking about and still going to refer back to in a way that we currently refer to films like The Matrix, like, the original Star Wars movies, like movies that become the text for what we're doing in the future. Yeah. Another way to think about it would be like, if the aliens came down and you had to communicate with them what was going on in these genres in the last 25 years, what would you give them? What would you say? Like, hey, you need to understand these films to understand where we were as a culture and a society during that time. So it will combine best with like most relevant, most important, all that sort of stuff. And because it's us and it's me, like there's more than 25, because I'm just going to illustrate to you how hard this is, because you're going to have your own out there. So I'm going to rattle off a bunch of films. Where Pablo's going to react and change the list is basically like, he's got ingrained in him the movies that are important to him, that he knows he has to have. So I think if he hears one too low or one too high or one that has to go in, then that's where we can have a real conversation. And I think the final list will probably change, reflecting that. Yeah. So I'm going to start with also categories. There are movies that I think straddle categories. So you do have to define like what is qualifying or not. So for example, I'll give you a perfect example of a couple of movies that were not under consideration that you could argue should be under consideration. So like, I consider Training Day to be a drama that has a bit of action in it. Yeah. That's not an action movie to me. Yes. So like, I didn't consider that eligible. Similarly, I consider Creed to be like a sports drama that has the set pieces of boxing in it. Mm-hmm. I did not consider that eligible. But you could sell me on the idea that Creed is actually an action movie with boxing at the center if you wanted to say it's eligible. But I didn't. I also did not consider like a movie like A Quiet Place, which clearly would be science fiction. In some ways, I considered that a horror movie, and I didn't consider horror as a genre for this. So there is a little bit of that, like how you define it will matter. Here quickly, a quick list of movies that did not even make. So I have 25 essentials. I have 25 honorable mentions. That's 50 total that I even put under real consideration. Here are movies that didn't even make the 50. And I'm sure people will react out of the gate. Here are movies that did not make the 50 for my criteria. Force Awakens, not on the list. Wonder Woman doesn't make the top 50. Ready Player One, not in the top 50.
I never saw Ready Player One, but go ahead.
Now this is going to be Again, it's not in the category of best, but I'll get to why. The original Avengers is not in the top 50.
That's crazy.
Tenet, a movie which I really love, not in the top 50 from Nolan. Denis Villeneuve's Arrival, not in the top 50. And a tough exclusion, which I think probably a lot of people would have in the top 50, James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy 1, not in the top 50. But my point is, when you hear the 50, I think you'll understand how hard this is. And that's the point. When you're trying to give people a wealth and a diversity of what mattered, you run out of room real fast.
Yeah.
So those are movies. Are there any movies on that list that you would have said, hell no, they have to be at least in the top 50, if not the top 25?
Avengers, yo. It's just,
Avengers 1.
Yeah.
So there obviously is Avengers movies on this list. I will say, obviously. I didn't put all of them. So there isn't, like, I had to choose. So do you feel like Avengers 1 has to be, you can flag it for later, has to be in the top 50 at least?
Absolutely.
Okay. So I'm going to make a note of that. Pablo is immediately wanting to bump something for Avengers 1.
But let's see if we bump it, is depending on his choices.
Anything else that you were like, hey, we have to have Guardians in there, we have to have Force Awakens in there, Wonder Woman, does it have to be in there? I'll come back to that. Flag that one for later, because there is a spot for it maybe, but I think I want to have a conversation to stir the pot a little bit on that.
Yeah, let's do Wonder Woman and Guardians.
Okay, so those three we want to keep. It's interesting. Force Awakens is the highest grossing movie in the U.S. of all time. You're actually kind of okay letting that sit, which is kind of how I felt, actually, when I got down to it. That's pretty wild, right, if you think about it. So anyway, okay. Here are the honorable mentions. Again, we're going to rip through these. If we want to talk about any of them along the way, the biggest thing I would say is, does any of them strike you as they don't belong on this list at all, or you're crazy for keeping them as low as you are? These have to be in the 25. Okay, so here we go. These are the honorable mentions. Steven Spielberg's Minority Report. Spider-Man 2.
What are you talking about?
Spider-Man 2.
Okay, you're flagging that one.
Hell
too low,
yeah.
you're saying.
Yeah, too low.
Too low, you're saying. Okay, too low. The Batman, Matt Reeves movie.
To me, I don't care what nobody says. Michael Keaton's Batman is the best, but yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay.
The Batman is dope, but the Batman is dope.
The Batman also represents something on this list that I feel like there's a few cases where the list will get revised because it's incomplete. We've only seen the first, and I think that's a part of that.
Yeah.
Also in the honorable mentions category, Interstellar, The Martian,
The Martian was up there. I was watching it yesterday. It was on. I said, I'm watching this.
Amazingly rewatchable movie. One of my personal favorites. But
what would you say before The Martian?
Interstellar. Chris Nolan's Interstellar.
There will be a lot of people. Shout out to Melvin Taylor. Melvin Taylor loves this movie.
I will just say this. So I put this here very deliberately because I fully understand that Interstellar has become the modern day 2001, which is exactly what Nolan made it to be. And I think if you look at his filmography, the movie that has grown in stature the most is actually Interstellar. So I completely understand why people will tell me I'm crazy to have this between 26 and 50 and not in the top 25. For me personally, it's not my favorite Christopher Nolan. But I will say that, like, it does have that feeling of, like, of movies 25 and 50 years from now that somehow will be more than they are today. This already feels like it is headed that way. So I hear that argument. So to me, it has to be in the top 50. For me personally, I couldn't get it to 25 just because I don't personally enjoy it as much.
When you do your 25, give me the director. If he's done a lot of movies, then it'll be still tough to tell you which movie. But give me the director so I can try to guess the movie. If he has a large library, because
I think it's a great point.
Because that could be like Ridley Scott. There's a lot of dope movies. That could be like Chris Nolan, who's done a lot of dope movies.
Exactly. And I think when you look at this list, for this list to be representative, there are certain directors and performers who you would expect would be all over this list, and they need to be. I think, again, if we're doing that criteria of essential, you can't have a list that doesn't have Christopher Nolan on it, right? So he's on it, don't worry. But like, it's a question of what from his filmography you want to put on it. I already said, I think Tenet is aging brilliantly, but I don't think it's good enough. Yeah. So I have it outside the list. Interstellar definitely is good enough. Just for me personally, it's not my favorite. So I have it as an honorable mention.
I have a favorite of Chris Nolan's.
I do too. Actually, although you could argue his best made movie is not eligible for this list. You could argue that.
We'll see. Okay.
Yeah, you could. So then where did I stop? March. I said Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, Matt Reeves, the second movie of Matt Reeves, or the first one he directed, the second of that series, I think is the best one. We just talked about this on our other show. Godzilla -1, I think absolutely is in the top 50.
That's crazy.
So you think it should be higher?
Oh, hell's yeah.
Okay.
Let's see though. Let's see I don't know what kind of list you got, but it'll be
I
interesting.
mean, you're going to have a few that I could see you like better and want to toss out, but I think the point is you're going to see how hard this gets. So Godzilla -1.
Uh-huh.
Taken, Liam Neeson's action movie.
Yeah, that's fine.
Rogue One.
You
honorable mention.
That's crazy.
Revenge of the Sith, also honorable mention.
Oh, yeah, because Revenge of the Sith is.
But to me, I think those are clearly the two. I think those are the two best and will age as the most defining Star Wars movies of this time period. Yeah. I think Revenge of the Sith is aging well. I think it's looked at better now than when it came out, which I think is fair. And I think Rogue One with the legacy of Andor, I think that gets better every day. And so even more so than Force Awakens, I think those two movies in the Star Wars verse are the ones you will take from these 25 years. Whereas Force Awakens, to me, despite all of its success, I think is aging kind of poorly as more people see it as like, hey, they just remade New Hope.
Yeah.
Doesn't it feel that way? It feels like the moment. And that's why when I sat down and thought about it, I was like, I think Sith is essential. And I think Rogue One made itself essential by how well Tony Gilroy did it, and the TV series only enhanced it. So to me, those are the two. And if you want to argue they should be higher, I'll listen to it, but they have to be in the top 50. Yeah. All right, here's another one that was controversial, but I don't know. I didn't know where to put this. In terms of best, it should be higher, but I put it here. Black Panther. I think that's a tough one.
Okay.
It probably ought to be higher. I had a different Coogler, but
that's a good conversation.
Because the importance of it, it's probably in the top 5.
Yeah.
But I think when you get into
the quality of film,
is it the technically best thing he's ever done?
Yeah, no.
I don't think it is.
No.
All right, this might be controversial for you, but I felt like it deserved to be on here. Man of Steel, honorable mention.
So
now the question is, now is where you get into should Wonder Woman be here and Man of Steel be off the list? But I had Man of Steel on the list. I am partial to Man of Steel. I think it's important. I think obviously what came after it is the touchstone for that. So I have it as an honorable mention. How to Train Your Dragon. This is one of 2 animated properties I have. That I have on the list. I think it's
of honorable mentions.
Honorable mention. No. There's one that's in the actual 25. That's animated. This is How to Train Your Dragon animated is an honorable mention.
Okay.
I only have 2 animated that qualified that I put on this list.
Okay.
Black Hawk Down, Quentin Tarantino's favorite movie of the last 25 years. I have an honorable mention.
Okay.
The Town, honorable mention. Tony Scott, Denzel Washington, Man on Fire, honorable mention. Here's one that's really interesting, and I think some people...
Man on Fire, which one is that one? That's
Denzel Washington in the revenge plot with Tony Scott.
Yeah.
That is probably one that certain people would probably take off the list entirely. But so if you want to spot an honorable mention, that would be maybe one. Here's one that I had a real tough time with as a franchise because I felt like it needed to be on the list somewhere. But when I sat down and thought about it as individual movies, I had a really tough time. Harry Potter. So I have Harry Potter 4, The Goblet of Fire, as the one that I like the most. Mm-hmm. But when you think about the series, there aren't that many individual films where you're like, I have to have. It's probably 1, The Sorcerer's Stone, Azkaban, which is Cuarón's movie, the best directed one. And then I think some people would probably choose maybe the finale or Half-Blood Prince, but it's hard. I think Harry Potter, those movies culturally, I think they matter. The books obviously matter, but individually, it's more like a collective than it is like a single movie. So it was very hard for me, but I put Harry Potter for an honorable mention. A little movie that I'm very partial to, I think is very innovative and very important and really well done is Upgrade. I think that's one of the best visually shot sci-fi movies that you're going to see. So I put that in honorable mention. There's a couple for me on here in the action category. I have Denzel's The Equalizer. I love that movie.
The first one is another rewatchable movie.
I think it's great, man. It's really
yeah.
rewatchable.
Yeah.
I have Michael Mann's Miami Vice, and I have Michael Mann's Collateral, also an honorable mention. I think both of those are excellent. I have Mission Impossible 5, Rogue Nation, in honorable mention. I have F1. That's brand new. But this is also one where like you could talk me into it not being eligible, but I kind of felt like weirdly the car driving was enough to make it an action movie for me, so I put it in honorable mention. Tony Scott's Unstoppable, the last movie he ever did with Denzel and Chris Pine on a runaway train, which I think is actually really underrated. And then this may sound crazy, but it stayed in honorable mention, is Chris Nolan's Batman Begins.
That is crazy.
But you can probably guess what is on the list if that one is an honorable mention. So that's honorable mention. Like, look at that list. Like, that is a good list of movies for people that I basically
the ones that I listed were Spider-Man 2, The Martian, Interstellar, the ones that we sort of have to just debate a little bit. Yes. Spider-Man 2, The Martian, Interstellar, Godzilla -1, Rogue One, Revenge of the Sith, Black Panther, Man of Steel.
Right.
The Town. This is going to be a very interesting Collateral.
Crazy,
and Batman
right?
Begins. Yeah.
Okay, so now we get into the 25, and I broke the 25 into two parts. I didn't try to rank the first part. I just kind of had like 11 through 25. These were movies that I felt like I couldn't leave off the list one way or another, but I don't have them like in order. Whereas the final 10, I did actually try to come up with some semblance in order. So here's 11 through 25 who's on the list. And I have one that's asterisk, but I'll explain why. And I think it's an obvious one. On the list, Iron Man 1. Kill Bill Volume 1. Dune 2. The Raid. Mad Max Fury Road. 300. Edge of Tomorrow, Spider-Man No Way Home, Sicario, Skyfall, Into the Spider-Verse, that's my other animated, Fast 5, The Bourne Supremacy, save that for later, I have a reason why I have that one specifically. I have one that's for me, and it's maybe just for us, but I couldn't leave it off. I had to do it. Equilibrium.
Yeah, I was thinking about that.
And then the one I asterisk, and we can really debate this as to what it is, where it belongs, what it should be, is Zack Snyder's Justice League. I have it on the list. And I know that if I were just doing pure best, it's probably not, but I just feel like the relevance of what it represents, how it came to be, and how it lasts, I felt like I couldn't leave it off. So let's talk about it more, but maybe we can bump it for something else. But I have Zack Snyder's Justice League 11 through 25. Did anything on there strike you as like, it insults my intelligence that it's on the list?
I can't say nothing about. So let's go through one. You want to go one by one real quick?
Yeah, let's go through.
These are the 25.
This is just 11 through 25.
Okay,
I haven't done the top 10 yet.
Okay, let's go.
You want the top 10?
Yes.
Okay. So I'll count these down. It gets really tricky though. Just understand that I did this as a combination of like my best and then like essential and importance. But like, so the order is kind of loose. Although I did feel like I did have my number one. I did actually have a number one. So at number 10, I had The Fellowship of the Ring. That's sort of like my Lord of the Rings movie. I think that's going to lose its spot, but I still feel like 25 years later, that matters, and what it represents matters a lot, and how they made it and pulled it off matters a lot.
Okay,
at number 9?
Again, we talked about naming directors to sort of guess some of these.
Oh, okay, yes.
So,
okay,
let's do that through going from 9 through number 1.
Okay, so Ryan Coogler has a movie in the top 10. Do you want to guess what it is? So I've told you Creed is not eligible, and Black Panther was an honorable mention.
Sinners.
Boom. Yes. I think Sinners is going to wind up being one of the most discussed, if it's not already, films to come out of this period. And I think it is hands down one of the best.
Yeah.
Technically, visually, story, creatively. I have Sinners.
Yes.
I have Sinners at number 9. I think I do not think you can talk about these genres in these 25 years without this movie already. Yeah. It's the only current year release I have on this in the top 10.
Yeah.
Okay, I will tell you this. Marvel has 2 slots in the top 10. Do you want to guess what is in those 2 slots?
Oh, The Winter Soldier.
Yes. So I cheated a little bit and I said Infinity War / Endgame, but if you made me pick one, I'm actually going to pick Infinity War just for the standpoint of like, this is the most comic booky and indicative of where we got to as a society in terms of our hype for this, that they could actually make this and it was that good and that exciting. But I think the Infinity War / Endgame, which is really two parts to the same movie, is one slot. And I think Captain America Winter Soldier has to be on this list as the best movie Marvel has ever made. And one of the defining action movies, I think, of the last. It's both, right? It's both superhero and action. It's two genres. It's one of the best movies of the last 25 years. So yes, they are both on the list. Chris Nolan has 2 slots on this list. You want to guess what they are?
Chris Nolan. Okay. So let me get this straight. It's Sinners and then Infinity War.
Sinners is at 9. I'm just going to do it. So Fellowship of the Ring was 10. I had Sinners at 9, although I think that's going to go up over time. 9 because it's this year. Winter Soldier and Infinity War, and Endgame, that combination, I will tell you, I have at 5 and 6. Although obviously, if we were just going to do cultural importance, I think Infinity War Endgame is number 1 by far. I think it's the most important thing that happened in these genres of the last 25 years is that Marvel pulled this off. I just think that's unassailable. But I have them as 5 and 6 for this purposes. Winter Soldier's 5 to me. That's actually the better movie, better individual movie.
Okay.
Nolan is at 2 and 4 on this list.
Well, I almost guess one of them is The Prestige.
Okay, so I consider that ineligible.
Okay.
I think that's a historical drama. I don't think it's a sci-fi movie.
Okay.
I agree with you. I think it's maybe the best thing he's ever done, but I don't think it's eligible. Similarly, I thought Dunkirk was eligible, but I didn't really. That's not for this list. I don't think.
Okay.
Well, if Batman Begins is not on this list, what's the obvious?
Batman with the joke. I mean,
Dark Knight.
The Dark Knight. From the reason why the Dark Knight for me, and I would replace Batman Begins, is because for me, Batman is the star. The Dark Knight, Batman, he's a co-star, and
I get it.
And Heath Ledger's performance outshines everyone. When he's on screen, it's like you watch that movie to see what he does.
But that's why I can't not be on the list.
Yeah.
Because you could argue this is the single greatest performance any of these genres have had in the last 25 years.
Yes.
And it's funny, we watched it last night with my kid. I showed it. And I was like mesmerized all over again, watching Ledger do his thing. And I think also the way Nolan directs this movie, I really enjoy, right? The Heat style, the city drama that he was trying to invoke. This is the most Gotham movie to me of the 3. You're right. It is not the best pure Batman, but I think it is. I also had to have it on her because this movie literally changed the Academy Awards. The reason why you have more than 5 nominees now is because of this movie. So I kind of felt like its importance is undeniable. So to leave it off the list felt wrong. And I think Ledger's performance puts it, to me, into the top 5. But he has one other movie that I personally, it's my favorite Nolan movie that I think is still, I think is timeless. Inception.
I was trying to think of the name, but I couldn't figure it. But
I think the fact that movie exists and made $800 million is preposterous. A movie about dreamlands and dreamscapes and him trying to make that something spectacular and action and sci-fi, to me, is like, it's like the ultimate flex by a director. And I'm like, the fact that it's that good, I think, is one of those things I want to always be able to show, future generations. They're like, yeah, this happened. Like, this guy did this, and it's really good, and it's really creative. So I have Inception. I'm very partial to that. I think you're right. I think there's some people that would actually tell me, get out of here with Inception. Interstellar is absolutely the movie that should be right here.
Yes.
I think that's a matter of personal taste. Okay, there are 4 slots unaccounted for. I'll give you the director, which will make it pretty obvious. So James Cameron has to be on this list. For what?
Avatar.
Yeah, Avatar 1 is obviously, to me, like, you can't, it's still the highest grossing movie of all time. He created an era of 3D in cinema that didn't go well for anyone else, but went well for him. And he's still doing it. And so I think to not have that movie on here feels wrong, even though Avatar is not my favorite IP. I think the achievement of it is stunning. So it's on the list. So this is one I think will be debatable, but I was struggling with it. I have John Wick 2 in the top 10. This is not my favorite franchise, but I feel like this is my favorite John Wick movie by far, is John Wick 2.
John
I think
Wick
it's
2?
the best. I think 2 is the best of the four by far.
I think number 1 is the best. I like the number 1.
Again, this is personal. I love 2 because it gives you enough of the world without it being so over the top maximalist, which is what it becomes in 3 and 4.
Yeah.
I feel like the franchise means a lot to a lot of people. This is one of the few action franchises to be born entirely of this era. It's become relevant to young audiences, older audiences, video games, Fortnite. Like, this thing is its own universe.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like leaving it all, and I do feel like it pioneered or at least innovated a brand of action which is now oversaturated. It's been copied all over the place.
Yeah.
So I felt like it needed to be on the list somewhere. You could talk me into it not being in the top 10, but it's got to be on, something from this franchise has to be on the list somewhere. And I feel like you're right. Only 1 and 2 merit consideration for this. I don't think 3 and 4 are in the conversation.
I think you sort of had to give it the same treatment you gave Infinity War Endgame, John Wick 1 and John Wick 2.
You want to do it as like a pair in the same slot?
Yeah.
Okay. We could do that.
Yeah.
But I just felt wrong leaving it off. I was like, it has to be high. I think this thing has become so important to so many people in the last 15 years. And it's still going strong, weirdly, right? Like, I don't know. So, all right, so we have that. Then we have 2 more slots. Tom Cruise is on here twice.
Really?
And he holds, in my opinion, he holds the number 1 movie on this list. But I think when I sat back and you think about what performer has contributed to the last
Maverick
25 years of action,
there,
I think he has to be up there. And I wasn't shocked he was on this list that high, but I have him at 1 and 3 on this list.
Top Gun Maverick.
Number 1. That to me is the perfect movie for this list.
Yeah.
I really do believe that.
Yeah,
I don't believe there's no wrong, visually stunning, improbable degree of difficulty to make this relevant 35 years later. It's so rewatchable. There's no controversy around it. It's just everyone loves it. And I think, I don't know. It's just like, to me, like that just stood out as like a perfect representation of this list. So I have Top Gun Maverick as number 1. Most essential movie of these genres of the last 25 years. Number 3, Mission Impossible Fallout. I think a Mission Impossible movie has to be in this list in the top 10. I think the peak of this franchise is about as good as action filmmaking got in the last 25 years, even though the franchise petered out, which is why 7 and 8 are nowhere near this list. But to me, 5 and 6 are that they are a 2-parter effectively. 5 and 6 are it. That's as good as this franchise got. That's as good as action filmmaking was. And I think Fallout is just special from start to finish. So maybe it's a little too high at 3. People will debate me on that. But I think the idea that Cruise has these 2 things that he's contributed to something this high, I think actually makes a lot of sense. I think it makes a lot of sense. And I have Edge It tomorrow, obviously, in 11 to 25. So he's on here 3 times. That didn't feel wrong to me.
Okay.
As a movie star, I still feel like he has been, like in the non-superhero verse, he's been as relevant as anyone over the last 25 years. So all right, so there's a list. So now let's modify it.
Okay.
Who's getting bumped? Who's going out?
So just let me get this straight. So the Winter Soldier, Infinity War Endgame, Inception, Avatar, John Wick 2, Mission Impossible Fallout, and Top Gun Maverick.
And Sinners. And Fellowship of the Ring. That's the 10 slots.
Fellowship
of the Ring is 10. Sinners is 9. John Wick 2 is 8. Avatar is 7. The combo Infinity War Endgame is 6. Winter Soldier 5. Dark Knight 4. Mission Impossible Fallout 3. Inception 2. Top Gun Maverick number 1. So the first category is who could break into the top 10 and who do you want to take out?
For me, I take Justice League out, and put Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 2 deserves that spot.
Oh, you're in the top 25. Okay. You want to go right to the Zack Snyder discussion. Okay. If you take it out, where do you put it? Because doesn't it have to be somewhere in this conversation? We've never had a phenomenon like this where basically the people willed this and his own
I would
don't know
say
what to
top
call
50,
it.
but definitely not top 25.
Okay, so you want it as an honorable mention.
Yeah.
We're going to bump. Okay, the Snyderverse crowd. You go for Pablo. Remember, I put it on the list for you. He took it out. Okay, so you want Zack Snyder's Justice League in honorable mention off the list. You said Spider-Man 2 on. That's your first on.
Yes.
That's your first on. Interesting. Over Wonder Woman or over, what else do we have on there? Martian, Interstellar. You want Spider-Man 2 on. So we'd have 3 Spider-Man movies now. We'd have Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man No Way Home, and Into the Spider-Verse would all be in the top 25. That feels a little high to me, but
for me, the raid, I understand what it means for you. I still haven't gotten a chance to see it, but I know it is held in high regard. For me, Rogue One, as far as being the film to give Star Wars back its essence of a sci-fi thriller and drama, I think Rogue One deserves to be in the top 25.
I'll trade you. I would rather keep the raid. I think I will defend the raid being on this list. I'll trade you. How about I trade you Sicario for Rogue One?
Okay, that's fine.
Because I do have Villeneuve still with Dune 2. I think he has to be on this list. He's as a sci-fi director the last 25 years. But I'll hear and I think Dune 2 is the best of his contributions. I think the raid needs to be. I think the raid is groundbreaking as an action film and needs to be on this list. So but I'll give you. Let's put Sicario into honorable mention and put Rogue One in.
Okay.
I like the idea of a Star Wars movie being up this high. So let's and that is probably the best pound for pound Star Wars movie we have. Okay. Revenge of the Sith, you could argue though. I mean, that's the one people will probably give you pushback on, but I'll go with that. Let's go with Rogue One. Sicario honorable mention, Rogue One is in, and we got Spider-Man 2 is in, and Zack Snyder's Justice League is on honorable mention. I don't love this 3 Spider-Man thing, so we might have to bump another Spider-Man movie.
Damn.
It's hard, right? Like it's not. Well, since we're having the Snyder discussion, where do you stand on 300?
It is a wonderful film from start to finish.
It's unique too. That's the thing. Like there's nothing else like it. And
it tells a fantastic story in its own way. And it's just an amazing film to watch and how he depicted it and the way that everyone sort of that he was able to direct such a big cast and crew in the action. And I thought it was wonderful. I
also have to feel like if you take 300 off the 25, then Zach has no movies in the top 25. Does that feel right to you? I know he's a polarizing filmmaker, but if we think about these 25 years in these genres, it felt to me like he had to be on here somewhere and not just as an honorable mention. And I think this is his best movie.
I like Watchmen too, even though whatever, but I like Watchmen too.
I agree. But I find I rewatch this one more. I find I rewatch parts of 300 more than I revisit Watchmen.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like, do you feel like if we took 300 out, for example, so he has nothing in the top 25, does that feel okay to you?
Yeah, because there's Justice League for me when it shouldn't be there, yo.
Okay, so we already did. You already took Justice League out. You put it in honorable mention, right? So now we got Man of Steel and Justice League are in honorable mention.
Yeah, you got to leave 300 there.
I think 300 stays. This is where I was like, yeah, I think it does stay.
Yeah.
And I think you would want to, the other reason I think you'd want it on there is because the style of the visuals, there was that period of years where Hollywood got into this, and this is the best movie, I think, of that version. I think it's something you want to remember.
I'd have to take out and swap Edge of Tomorrow with The Martian, yo.
Ooh.
I'd have to do that.
That is controversial. I love both.
Yes.
I love both. Oh. See, I'd rather put The Martian in and take a Spider-Man movie out.
Into the Spider-Verse?
So, but this is where so let's look at these 3 Spider-Man movies. Spider-Man 2, you could probably still say is arguably the best pound for pound Spider-Man movie we've gotten. I think that's with Molina's performance. I think you could make that case. No Way Home for me was a hard one because on the one hand, I was like, the fact that this went as well as it did, and it ties together all these eras of Spider-Man at once, that felt very relevant to me. I will say, I don't really rewatch it as much as I would have thought when I left the theater.
Which movie is this again?
No Way Home.
Yeah, me neither. Me neither.
So is there a case that No Way Home should actually be an honorable mention? Because here's the thing about Into the Spider-Verse. That is groundbreaking animation. It wins an Academy Award. It makes a ton of money. And I think the fact that they introduce Miles in that form, I have a tougher time leaving that off than I do leaving No Way Home off.
Yeah, for me, I would probably swap out.
Want to bring The Martian in for No Way Home?
Yeah.
I just love Edge of Tomorrow. I think Edge of Tomorrow is one of the best sci-fi movies of the last 25 years. I really do. And I think it's become more popular on TV as people have come around to it.
Yeah. I would have to I would see now something has to come off. Equilibrium has to come off and make room for
Oh, okay. Yeah, on merit. I did that one for me and for you. So you okay putting in an honorable mention?
Yeah.
All right, so we're putting The Martian in?
Yeah.
Martian is in. Our personal one for us movie goes to honorable mention. I'm not taking it out of honorable mention, though.
Yeah.
It's not going any lower than that.
So is Rogue One in the top 25 now?
Rogue One is now in. So we have added Rogue One. We have added The Martian. We've added Spider-Man 2. We have dropped, to honorable mention, we have dropped Sicario, Equilibrium, and Zack Snyder's Justice League.
And listen, to be honest, for me, Man of Steel is a movie that I enjoy watching more than I do Superman. James Gunn's Superman.
So, did you notice that I did not mention James Gunn's Superman at any point in this podcast, at any point in the show?
I wasn't even thinking about it.
There's not, and I will say, like I said, to me, in 2025, the only two movies that in this type of arena that I believe are being carried forward, will get carried forward. I think Sinners is unquestionably the number one. I don't even think it's close. I think F1 is the number two. I don't think Superman, Fantastic Four, I don't think there's anything else from superhero this year that will have any lasting impact. And I agree. I see the virtues of Superman. There are parts of it I very much enjoy in the James Gunn version. But I still like Man of Steel, man. I still go back to it. It is flawed, but the flaws, it asks interesting questions.
Yes.
And I keep going back to Lawrence Fishburne when he says, could you imagine what people would do if there was someone like this out there? That question to me, the way that being asked is interesting. I know It didn't get there. I know it didn't fulfill the promise of that question, but I think the movie matters. And I think it's a lot of it's actually really good. It gets out of control at the end, but I think a lot of it's really good.
Yeah.
And I don't know, man. I think it ages okay.
Yes.
So I'm okay with that as an honorable mention. All right. Anyone else that has to go? So you had flagged, other ones you had flagged, Interstellar, Godzilla -1, and Revenge of the Sith. I think you had also flagged. Do any of those three in your mind have to get into the top 25 and who comes out?
Fast 5 comes out and Godzilla -1 gets in there.
Okay. I'll hear you.
It's just what he was able to pull off with a franchise that has been, what would I say it has been done with this franchise. It's gone a little bit too crazy in terms of what Godzilla was about. Certainly there's some visual aspects that people have done, but there's also, they've made it a bit silly. And he took it back to basics. And the feats that he was able to pull off visually, not only that, with the story and with humans in Godzilla movies.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Fast 5 was good, but it is no Godzilla -1. It's a different,
Okay.
yeah.
Done. I'll hear that. I think to me, the thing with the Fast franchise, again, I felt like in action, it has to be somewhere on the list in total, because I do think it is incredibly relevant to the last 25 years. I think Fast 5 is far and away the best of it's either 1 or 5 for me. But the reason why I would put 5 on is because that's the one where it becomes like this ensemble heist style of franchise, and that's what made kind of the biggest money. So I think honorable mention is fine. I think this is a fair trade. So we're putting Godzilla -1 on. We're taking Fast 5 off. The Bourne Supremacy is definitely a spot we can debate. So here was my case for putting this in. I think when you think back, all of the gritty, shaky cam, kinetic action movies you've seen over the last 25 years came out of the Bourne franchise.
Yeah.
They did it first.
Yeah.
And Paul Greengrass takes over, directs Bourne Supremacy. To me, that's the best film of the 3. That's why I was like, I struggled. Do people think about it 20 years later? Probably not as much. But it weirdly feels like it informs all these things you do see, from John Wick to even like gritty superhero movie. It's just like, it feels like I'm taken. Like, it feels like you see all these homages or references back to that style. So I don't know where to put it, but you could talk me out of taking it off the list. I just was like, I think it has to be mentioned because that franchise really birthed a lot of this type of action.
I think you can keep. Well, no, I mean, to me, I still swap out Fast 5 with what? Did I say Godzilla -1?
Yeah. So here would be like, if you want Interstellar, for example, to be in the list versus an honorable mention, you could argue that Interstellar is, maybe over Bourne Supremacy.
Mm-hmm. To me, man, Collateral is a movie from start to finish.
I had a tough time. I initially had Collateral on this list, and I actually initially won't put Miami Vice on this list, and I was like, I had a tough time taking these off. I was like, I love these movies.
Yeah, Collateral is a hell of a movie from start to finish. It's one of those
same year as Bourne Supremacy.
It's one of those perfect movies, though. It's one of those perfect movies.
You want to put it on? Take Bourne Supremacy off?
And think about what added layer and range for Tom Cruise.
The Cruise we should have had more of.
Yeah, he was. And perhaps, depending on where they go with Mission Impossible, it may get there, Brian. Now Mission Impossible there is to stop this dude and usher in the new recruits, if that's where you want to grow, to highlight somebody new. But we got to get away from this. This is the only guy that can do it.
All right, so you're bringing Collateral in for Bourne Supremacy.
Yes.
Because I don't think, because now if we look at what else we haven't debated, I mean, Kill Bill Volume 1, that feels unassailable to me. You think that's debatable?
One?
Kill Bill Volume 1. I think that's unassailable. You think that's debatable? That's the Tarantino for me in action that I would have on here.
I like Kill Bill too, to be honest.
Okay, I mean, okay, fine. I like 1 a little better because I like the battle with Ren Oshii at the end. That's my favorite battle of the whole.
I like the whole Pai Mei training. I can't get it out of my head.
I got you. Well, we could cheat and do the whole bloody affair because they made it one movie now. So if you want to do that,
yes, we could do that.
All right, so you want to do the whole bloody? We'll just make it Kill Bill. Will be on here as a whole.
Yeah.
But I think it needs to be on here. I think if we take it out of 25, I think we're doing wrong. In my opinion, I think Dune 2 is honest. I think we haven't seen the end of the Dune franchise, but I think it's such a good movie, and the cast that he's got in there, catching them at the right time. I don't know, like that feels wrong dropping that below 25. Iron Man 1 feels criminal dropping that below 25 because the whole MCU flows from that. So to me, like that's as low as I can get. Skyfall, I'm like, I feel like if you have no Bond on here, that feels weird with the Daniel Craig era. I guess you could argue Casino Royale maybe, but like...
Casino Royale, I saw that movie twice in the theaters.
So I think most people would say Skyfall is better. Would you say Casino Royale is more essential?
Yes, because if that fails, given all the critiques and people were not convinced, and this movie convinced you.
Okay.
Of what Daniel Craig can bring to the movie. I think it was from start to finish, although it was a little bit long, yes, but
all right, so here's what we'll do. We'll put Casino Royale in. I'm going to put Skyfall into honorable mention. I'm going to take Unstoppable off the list entirely.
Yeah.
Let's do that. I think Skyfall needs to be at least an honorable mention. It's so well done. But I hear you. And I think Bond has to be on this list. He still mattered to these genres of the last 25 years. So are we Mad Max Fury Road? I mean, most people say that's one of the best pure action movies of the last 25 years.
True.
That's kind of it. I mean, we got like Iron Man, Kill Bill, Dune 2, Raid, which I'm defending, 300, which we agreed on, Mad Max Fury Road, which I guess that would be the last debate, but it seems like it should be on here. Edge of Tomorrow, I'm defending. You added The Martian. You added Rogue One. Casino Royale is now on there as a Bond movie. Godzilla -1 is now on there. Collateral's in. Into the Spider-Verse we kept, and Spider-Man 2 we added. Oh, and then Spider-Man No Way Home. So are we still keeping the 3 Spider-Man? Maybe No Way Home versus Into the Spider-Verse. That's the last like debated spot. Is there anything else that do you want to bump Batman Begins into this list, for example? Do you want to have Revenge of the Sith into this list? Black Panther? Do you want Interstellar? Should one of those bump a Spider-Man movie? Kind of feels like yes, but and I think it should be No Way Home that gets bumped while we're into the Spider-Verse, but I'll hear the argument.
I keep looking at The Town.
Really? I love The Town, but how would you want The Town in the top 25? Okay,
it's a good fantastic movie experience. It reminds you of the best of the best Heat and these ensemble action films.
It's great.
Like I was watching Point Break the other day, and to me is
the original.
Yeah, the original. Yeah. The original.
He's not coming dope. Back. I love that.
The original is dope, yo.
Yeah,
and the way they set up, you could talk an hour about, like we did with Predator. You could talk about Point Break.
I love The Town. I don't know if it quite makes the top 25 for me. I love The Town though. If you haven't seen The Town, do yourself a favor. And by the way, I know The Departed won Scorsese an Oscar. The Town is more fun.
Yeah,
it's just more fun. It's more fun movie. It's a more fun watch. Departed, you should watch Departed too. But like The Town is a movie. If you watch it once, you'll start watching that again. Fenway Park robbery, like you'll start watching that stuff again. So it still feels like one of these Spider-Man movie needs to come out for one of our other ones.
Yeah,
and then I think we're good. So who goes in? So if we do we agree? So which one do you want out? We're keeping Spider-Man 2. Do you want No Way Home to drop to honorable mention or Into the Spider-Verse to drop to honorable mention?
No Way Home.
Okay, so we're dropping No Way Home to honorable mention. Okay, who is coming in to fill our last spot? Like I said, you got Batman Begins, you got Black Panther, you got Interstellar. I guess we have The Town.
I think Man of Steel, man. I think did we?
Oh, look at you!
I think Man of Steel. Look
at you, Man of Steel. I'll hear this. All right, we're for the Snyder crowd. We put the Justice League movie down as an honorable mention. Pablo is coming back around and putting Man of Steel.
And it's simply because of those questions that were asked in Man of Steel, where we never really got to ask, and to take that approach to it again, like you said, the end got a little crazy, yo, because it started not feeling like a Superman. This is not what Superman would do, which would let thousands and thousands of people perish because he's fighting a dude. You know what I'm saying? I just don't see. I think there's the issue with a lot of people, because you have this faction that loves the Superman saving a squirrel, and the other people, and those people not liking what Zack Snyder did with Superman and what he would do in terms of in order to save lives.
Wow.
But it asks that question. It asks that I think that's what makes it different and special at the same time. But from what it became to be in terms of people not really resonating with this Superman, still asks the question. And
it does still resonate too. It is the launch point of this thing that becomes the Snyderverse. And that's why I felt like something in that part of the world had to be on this list. Because when you talk about these 25 years, the path that leads to Zack Snyder's Justice League is one of the biggest points of IP superhero storytelling. It's crazy how it happened. You can debate the merits of it, but to say it wasn't relevant or it wasn't one of the most important things that happened to me is just denying reality. It was. And so, I that's why I initially had the Justice League movie on here, but I will hear, because I like it too, Man of Steel as the entry point to the Snyderverse.
Sure.
And maybe you could argue the high point of it. You could argue that. I mean, Wonder Woman, some people would say, but like, this is what kicks it all off and leads us down the path that leads to Zack Snyder's Justice League. All right, so Man of Steel is in. No Way Home drops to honorable mention. I'll send you the final list, and Pablo can kind of maybe post it in the in the diagram so people can follow along. But See how hard that is, man? That
it's difficult.
It is hard to choose these movies. A lot of good stuff. And if we mention movies you haven't seen, I will tell you this. Every movie on this list is worth a watch. You will not regret pulling the trigger on a streaming or rental. By the way, Equilibrium popped up on Paramount Plus the other day. So if you haven't seen it, it's right there.
Equilibrium is a dope, interesting film. Is dumb because, the whole premise of it, you're not supposed to feel emotion, and you can feel emotion all over the place. It's hard to pull that off.
Yeah.
But the action sequences in there are just really something to watch and enjoy. And I think that's where Chris Nolan perhaps got his inspiration for Bruce Wayne and Batman.
A little bit. I mean, I think you take like American Psycho plus Equilibrium and you kind of get a little bit close to what Christian Bale is doing. So anyway, that was a really fun exercise. Hope you guys enjoy it. And hopefully maybe if you haven't seen some of these movies, it gives you something to watch and have fun with and see what you think. But again, it is hard to do these. So
Yeah, because all these are great movies. And but some you watch more than others. And so I can see the difficulty. I would go crazy trying to figure this out.
I did go crazy trying to figure this out. I was like literally agonizing over these. Like, how can I leave this off? I love this movie. How can I leave it? Yeah. And I'm sure there's others we didn't even mention that people are going to be like, you're crazy for not even like having this in the top 10, let alone like not on the list.
So let us know in the comment section below which movies you would put up on the top 25. Make up your own list if you can. If you have the time. But yeah, let us know in the comment section below what you guys thought of all of this, and we'll see you next time on the Nerd Gen Report.